ones out there don't think.
That's what I was wondering. I'm like, how do you tell her what the...
I timed it on the drum beat last night.
Lock the door from the outside and start.
Yeah. Well, that would sort of leave me out. If I locked the door from the outside, it would mean that I would be outside.
That's a test you passed.
Such a vulgar abuse of power.
You can't just turn into smoke and come under the door.
Would, but once again, it's such a vulgar.
With the right smoke, you could.
That's very well. Some people probably have not gotten their way over yet.
I've given those type of things up, you know, trying to just whine and things.
How was the workshop today?
Great.
Good.
Great.
How do we tell when we're ready to go?
We got a few minutes. You want to start here?
This is the impromptu part of the program.
This is the impromptu where I'm supposed to, like, you know, recite the Gettysburg Address or something.
That would be good.
Yeah.
Also, since I'm here before we get started, I'll just try not to say it to each group every time. Take this moment to take your phone out and put it to silent. Specifically off vibrate. Put it on silent. Your vibrations, very, very loud. Especially for what cell phones you have, what you're into. Who knows? But there you go. Great.
So did you all enjoy the roast peasant?
Yes.
Yes, very nice, thank you.
Excellent. And did you bring us any of that fine beverage?
You're not bringing enough for the whole class, really.
Yeah. I'm drinking water. I don't know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
okay.
I just converted.
In nomine Patris et Filii.
Thank you.
The Vlad experience.
You ready to rock and roll? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Should have to wait. Some guy's on his phone.
And there's a gentleman shutting us in.
We're not all here.
We're not all here?
Hey, where you at?
Do people know that there is such a thing called a clock?
No, they're waiting on you.
What time does it start?
Well, that's okay. No,
I don't know, it's bad form to wear a watch during a performance unless it's public.
We got a couple minutes.
Oh, I like you. Did they make you two give your glasses back?
Yeah.
Yes,
We
have to
had
go.
to exchange.
We
yeah.
did.
But they're inside.
Oh.
That's true.
So who are we waiting for?
Pat, I bet.
Who are we waiting for? I was asking the gentleman behind you. Who was on the phone and is ignoring us? Who are we waiting for? Pat.
Pass? Yeah. Okay.
The ubiquitous Mrs. Gibson.
See if it had been someone like Lenny, we'd have just gone. I'm kidding.
No, you can go ahead and start. You can explain.
Or if we're waiting for Nobody Jones, it would have been the other three performers would be done by the time we got in.
Yeah.
And you, Captain Fairbanks. Thank you for joining me in our parlor experience, and I appreciate your attention and your promptness. And we have one other person waiting to join our journey down the River Styx. So we will be doing some strange and unusual things this evening, and thank you for being here at ECS 5. Now, when I look along this audience, I can see only the finest of evil will suit your purposes.
Yes.
You look like you're not quite sure.
Me?
Me.
Yes.
I'm very evil.
Good.
You know it.
Just not very. Just a bit.
So medieval.
Medieval. So we will have, as is all good rituals, a talisman. And some books. Now these are, come in. we could use, as I'm sure you all know, the wonderful tome written by the mad Arab, Necronomicon, but it was used last night, so why bother using it again? We have the other book, the Satanic Bible, written by Anton LaVey, a good friend of Brother Shadows, and sort of a cardie. So, yeah. We have the rewritten Satanic Bible, written by Aquino, who was one of the people that belonged to the Satanic Church. This is a newer tome, so there's argument whether or not this is valid. Have you all seen these books so far?
Yes.
Excellent, good. But I think for you, a book even eviler will be good.
Dear God.
And that would be this book, Martha Stewart's Good Things. It's so evil, I dare not even open it. But just for you, we will. Now, it has all kinds of lovely things in it, like tapestries and ribbons and haberdashery, candles and things like that, and recipes, kitchen tips, smoothies, alcoholic beverages.
Hey.
Gee, I wonder why I pointed over there. Some get these out of the way, and we'll move on. Yes, and there we go. This out of the way, and might need the book we're going to use. I could go through a deck of cards or something and have you select a number and things like that, but you've all seen that done before, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So, as people that are interested in things that are edible, these would be different recipes and things, yes?
Yes.
Good. Now, I'm going to go through like this, and you just tell me when to stop before I get to the top, then we have to start over. Good.
Stop.
Do you see one?
Yeah.
Do you see a page number?
Yeah.
Good. In the name of all things unholy, the marking of the book shall now commence. What did you see on that page?
I saw cookies.
What kind were they?
Sugar.
Sugar cookies. Oh, the most unholy. Was there a page number?
There was.
Now, if Satan agrees with your choice of culinary delights, there should be some kind of a marking there that would show his pleasure.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
The gentleman next to you turn to the page that was selected and take a peek. What was the page number?
53, yeah.
Oh. Get it away from
We
me.
can see that you've made a good choice and his Lord Satan is pleased. So there will be much culinary delight this evening. So, thank you.
Lovely.
Shortly after the reign of Vlad the Impaler came a woman known as Elizabetha, or Elizabeth. You would know her as the Countess Elizabeth Bathory. Now, unlike Vlad, who was known to sort of dine amongst his victims, some would say dine on his victims, she had a stranger, perchance, that she thought she could maintain eternal youth by bathing in the blood of maidens. In case you don't know, maidens are young women. So, she tested this theory on over 500 women. She started on the servant class girls who were working in the castle because they were the easiest to acquire. Nobody would notice that they went missing. And then she started to run up through the wealthier class. And when the rich start go missing, then people pay much more attention. Now, as I said, she did do away with over 500 women, but unfortunately in Hungary, you could not be executed as royalty except for the crime of treason. Who do you think may have created a law like that? Now, my cousin wasn't the brightest crayon in the box, so she continued even after they started to become wise to her interests. They couldn't kill her or execute her because she was royalty. What they decided to do was rather interesting. They brought her up into her own turret, or it's a lovely little round room off the edge of the castle with a riverfront view. And there they walled her up within, leaving a small square at the base so that they could push food into the room, therefore not starving her, so they weren't killing her. They were just keeping her away from the general public, where she would never see or touch another human being ever again. She stayed in there for 14 years until she died. We're going to try and contact my dearly departed cousin this evening, if that is your wish.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, some of you are interested. I could care less, sort of some of those relatives you don't care if you ever see again. So, yes?
Yeah.
Excellent, good,
Yes.
good. Now, I've only recently moved to this area of the continent, so I'm not quite sure if torture and mutilation is beyond the laws here. You people know that there
It's
are...
okay.
It's okay.
Special dispensation.
Special permission? Would you like to help me?
Sure.
Excellent. Thank you for volunteering for the torture and mutilation. Great, that's what I get for sitting in the front. Good, and your name is?
Gigi.
Gigi, excellent. Now, as I mentioned in the front, they're sort of up for the torture and mutilation.
Sure.
Especially him, look at the smile on it. I haven't seen him smile on it. I haven't seen him. Now, I don't want to get Mr. Levengood in any trouble with the law, so I would say we would probably torture and mutilate something other than you. Would that make you happier?
Sure.
It'd make you happier. The rest of them still want to see the torture and mutilation. Now, how about we use one of these?
The cards.
He seems more upset about mutilating the cards than the real person. Don't touch the cards. There are pictures of puppies and spoiled kitties on them. Now, we're going to go through like this, and we'll separate them, and you'll get a handmaiden.
Okay.
Now, we're not going to go through like this. Do you know why?
I'll see it.
You could see them, and thus you'd be making a choice by sight alone. And that would be slightly discriminatory. Couldn't tell all of her qualifications, you'd just be going by sight. So we're going to go down like this. You're going to tell me when to stop, and you'll get a handmaiden, and we'll proceed there
Okay.
and do the torture.
Got it.
Good. Are we ready? Excellent.
Stop.
Right here.
Yes.
Does that make you happy?
Yes.
Good, good. Take that. Take a look at it, and we'll move on to the torture. Hold it up towards yourself. Looking into its eyes. Yes.
Got it.
I feel like I'm at the Louvre. Actually. You will take your handmaiden, folding thusly up and down, putting a nice crease in the spine. This will simulate being put on the rack. Put a nice crease in there, run your finger up and down so I can hear the bones break. The rack was a large wooden bed that had pulleys at the top, pulleys at the bottom, pulling in opposite directions, sort of like early chiropractic. Make you slightly taller and break your spine in the process. Next step of the process would be to be drawn and quartered, which will mean you will fold the lower part to the upper part, thusly into quarters. You know what being drawn and quartered is.
I believe so.
Good. For those of you that don't know and aren't professional dominatrixes, it would be laid down in the middle of the square, arms and legs in an X fashion, and they would put ropes around your wrists and ankles. Those would then be attached to 4 different horses or oxen, and they all go in different directions, like a festive piñata. Get there really early, you have a different colored clothing by the end of the day. So open it up towards yourself. And you should have 4 scars running up and down the body of your handmaiden, yes?
Yes.
Good. Now hold it up towards yourself, and you can hold it by the edges, tear down along the creases, separating into the 4 pieces, and you can just do this mentally or physically. Do it the rest of the way, being you've started the torture, you might as well complete it. It's a good thing I have this nice little festive bag. Do you know why they use velvet in funerals? So they can charge you more. Otherwise, they just put your body in a cardboard box with kitty litter. It's much the same. Now, I did say we were going to contact my cousin, yes?
Yes.
Now, you'd probably like a memento, wouldn't you?
Sure.
So the torture wasn't enough, it was sort of almost a memento. Do you have a shelf to keep mementos, sort of like keys? I don't remember what they fit anymore, odd bits of string. Mementos of those that have been tortured for me.
Exactly.
Take this, hold on to it tightly. Now it appears that she's taken your offering. Do you see that over there? I did say we would contact my cousin. I didn't say we would contact all of her. It's rather hard to get an entire body through a small square in a wall, but I did what I could.
Oh, that's cool.
Here she has something for you.
Ooh.
Take it from her. See if it matches what you have. Otherwise, none of the rest of this makes any sense at all.
Yes, it does.
Show the rest of the crowd. You can keep that as a memento in case you ever run into my cousin in a dark alley. You can say, I gave it the office.
Thank you.
Excellent. Billy was a young boy of 7. I say was a young boy of 7 because he never got to 8. He was the joy of his parents' life. Smart, funny, and interested in all sorts of things. Unfortunately, while leaving the school bus one day, he was hit and killed by a drunk driver as he exited the school bus. His parents were distraught. His mother held his small hand as they rode to the hospital. She tried to save him and comfort him as they approached the hospital. But unfortunately, in a battle between a small child and a moving vehicle, the vehicle usually wins. She sat alone after he passed and looked at a small box that contained his mementos. These were cherished objects of his young life. A rubber snake that she used to taunt his aunt with and throw it at her as if it were a real snake. A tiny car. This was his favorite. Today. Every day was something different, a different car. He had 10 of them, but that day, this was his favorite. A small toy basketball that was a party favor at a party that he went to. A small rock that he had gained on a summer vacation. And a small stone that had been given to him at religious instructions. There was one more object. It was a tiny hand cast from his hand that his mother had kept. They had made it in elementary school. And she looked at it, and it reminded him, just like his hand, so small and delicate. She set the hand down, and she looked at it, and she said, Billy, if you're here, we miss you. We'd like to talk to you again. If you're here, give us a sign. And she waited, and nothing happened. She picked it up again and held it closer and tried to stroke it, but the clay did not feel like human flesh. And she set it down again, and it appeared to move. She said, Billy, if you're here, can you move it again? And he didn't. So as we think about his small life, we're left with two options. Either it was the imagination of a grieving mother who, in the love of her child, imagined all that happened, or that a small child, against all odds, came through the veil to talk to her one time again. Thank you this evening, because I know which one I would choose to believe. And that was my gifts to you this evening. So I guess you move on to the next journey. Yes.
See top.
Upstairs.